My name is Minke van Windergen and I'm the co-founder of the Floting Farm, the first floating farm in Rotterdam actually.
Okay, thank you. Minke, let me start, first of all, before we talk about the floating farm, I want you to tell me more about yourself, your background.
Yes, well, I was born and raised in the northern part of the Netherlands. It's a rural area, and as a child I was used to play on a farm. Now Peter and I, we live already for 30 years in Rotterdam, and our kids, both boys, were born and raised here. And that makes that I see the difference between the rural area and the cities. And the special thing in this project is that I like to combine the city and the farm, because in the city people have hardly any idea about food production, etc. So this is a unique project to bring those two things together.
You first mentioned that this floating farm is the first in Rotterdam, but as far as I know, it's the first in the world.
Yes,
Am I correct?
It is. Yes, that's right. Yeah, the one and only.
The one and only. How did this concept, this idea come about?
Yeah, it was 2012, and then Peter, my husband, he was in New York City, and Hurricane Sandy had hit the city very badly, and he was involved in a floating housing project. Manhattan was flooded due to Hurricane Sandy, and then after 2 days there was no fresh food in the shops. And then he realized, of course, food depends on logistics. And when the city is flooded, there is no logistics. And then he came up with the idea, why not make a farm on the water? And in that way, you are climate adaptive. You go up and down with a tide, even during a flooding, and you can keep on producing fresh, healthy food for the city.
As far as I understood, you and your husband, you are also specialized in waterborne architecture. Is that correct?
Yeah, you can call it like this, yeah.
So you have many projects already in the past that is related with the water.
Yeah. We are, in the Netherlands, we are used to live on the water. And yeah, that is why Peter was involved also in a floating housing project, etc. But a farm, that is completely different cake.
But you were very much affected also with this, apart from the Hurricane Sandy experience in New York. Already you feel this strong change around the planet with the climate change.
Yeah, sure, because Mother Earth is under big pressure. We have a lot of challenges, let's put it that way. And we have less and less arable land, but the world population is growing. So we need to change. And that's one thing. And the other thing is that we carry around the world with food. But why not create more local food production? So that's the other thing. And also what I already mentioned is that in a city, people don't have any clue about food production. And so a farm in the city is very good to create awareness and to do some education.
I came about a very interesting word that you've been using, transformation.
Indeed, yes. It's the combination of transition and farming. So, for example, the city of Rotterdam is in transition. The area where we are now, the next 10, 20 years, it will change because it's now a port area. But all the companies will leave, and here will come houses and workplaces. And we like to be part of that, because farming transition means add some farming to the city to make cities more sustainable, circular, but also more social. Because what we see over here now at our project, we have 58 persons who partly are volunteers, but also are people who work on the farm. And what we see, they feel part of the Floting Farm family. And that means that they are not only working here, but they also feel ambassadors of the project. And that is really important, because that means that they will tell about the project, and they will they will promote, for example, to buy more local and to think about what do I need for food and where does it comes from. So this kind of hub, it grow organically, and I think that's the best you can have, because that means that it's strong and it's connected and it's rooted in the city.
Let me go back a little bit. So the idea was impacted at 2012 with Hurricane Sandy. And immediately, Peter, your husband, and yourself, you started, okay, let's start an urban farming here in the city.
Yeah.
But the idea of floating it on the water, why on the water?
Yeah, because on the water you are climate adaptive. So a lot of cities, big cities, are situated in deltas. And deltas, they have to deal with the water is too high or it is too low. And when you are on the water, you are climate adaptive. So in any case, you can keep on producing fresh, healthy food. That is one. But the other reason is that we have less and less arable land, and cities are very crowded. There is hardly any place to do something. Maybe there are parks, but parks are the green lungs of the city, and it's needed to keep them as they are. And in this way, on the water, we create kind of new arable land in the city or in front of the city, and in that way we can make the connection between farming and city dwellers.
Well, I mean, I would imagine there were many, many challenges, apart from paperwork and all that. But what sort of challenges did you have in order to actually execute this project?
Yes, indeed. You mentioned paperwork, permits. It was not that easy because, for example, we had to prove that our cows would not get seasick. But how can you prove that? So we asked the university, please can you help us to prove it? And they said, let's think about this. But then they came up with the idea that on the water there are a lot of cattle carriers on the ocean. And they carry cattle from one place to another. And they said circumstances are probably not the same as on the farm, but cows are okay on the cattle carriers. So we agree it's okay. So that helps us to get the permits. But of course there was more we had to prove. That is one, and on the other hand, we also needed money, investors. We needed impact investors, which means investors with a green heart. And they know we have to change. The world must change and we must change. And they have a green heart, but it has to keep on beating, of course. So indeed, we had a few challenges, but we succeed at the end, and the cows are doing very well. And we are now involved in other projects in other cities. So once a Chinese newspaper, they mentioned this is the iPhone in the agriculture sector. So I hope really that would be the future.
You were mentioning you did have to collaborate with the universities in terms of researching and so forth. And of course the money issue, the funding issue, the investors, impact investors that you need and so forth. But of course the whole project was in a way experimental on your side?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
You can compare it when you build your house for the first time. After a week or a month, you think, how stupid, I could have done this. So we had, of course, the same. So that is why we have already changed a lot, but also the next farm will be definitely not the same. For example, logistics. We go up and down with water, so that means also that to come in or to go out, it is always depends on the water. So we had quite a few challenges.
In the end, when did you open the floating farm?
We opened May 2019. So we are now operational for about 4.5 years. Almost 4.5 years.
So as you said, in these 4.5 years, there were positive effects. And
yes, definitely.
Of course, you've learned a lot. And as you said, it was an experimental also phase.
Yeah, we learned a lot. And of course, we had pandemic. So first clients were restaurants. And we had a lot of visitors. And visitors, of course, is income for us. Because we did not have any subsidy. Zero subsidy, so it was really quite a challenge. But then pandemic, restaurants closed and no visitors. But as you can see, we survived thanks to a lot of help from investors and also the people who live around us, because we decided to make a shop next to the farm. And a marketeer would never had the idea to start a shop in kind of no man's land like here. But it was a good idea because during pandemics, people liked it to come outside and to go to a shop and to go to the farm. So that really helped us. And now we sell about 25% of all our products directly in the shop.
Let me go into very interesting, the circular farming, this word that you use, circular farming, which is, of course, in terms of word, we hear it very often now, circular.
Yeah.
But let me, brief me a bit on how this circular farming works at the Floting Farm.
Yeah, so for example, we deliver our products to Spar. It's a supermarket, a local supermarket. We bring our products there and we take with us on the way back the peels from the oranges, because they press fresh orange juice and what is left are the orange juice peels, and that is, our cows like it. So we mix it in the feed for the cows. So that is one. Another thing is that about circularity, that of course we sell our milk to the citizens, but also the manure of the cows as a fertilizer. It goes back to the city. So we make small pellets from it and then we sell it in our shop as a fertilizer. So that is about circularity. Another thing is that we feed our cows partly with residual products from the city. So that means that next door there is a beer brewery, a small one, and they brew a lovely beer, but also what is left is beer broth, and it has a lot of proteins in it. So it goes to the cows, we collect it every day, and the beer we sell in our shop. So it's a local cooperation, and it works very good. And that goes the same for the bakery, Jordi's Bakery. It's also next door. We sell their bread, and the leftovers from everyday bread goes to the cows. So that is why we call our cows, our ladies, upcycle ladies, because they upcycle the rest streams from the city. In the future, rest streams are a big issue for cities. And this is an example how you can upcycle rest streams.
The relationship with like restaurants and catering industry, how has it developed?
It is hard when you have not cows yet, but you want to sell the milk already. So that was a challenge. But when the cows came, we could bring the milk, and fortunately this milk is very good for the cappuccino. So it has a high percentage of fat and protein, and that is why the cappuccino is lovely. So the first customers were baristas, and that really helped us to make the farm more known in the city. And then after that, indeed, catering industry, but also the small shops, supermarkets, and in that way, yeah, we now sell our products.
Tell me about the production. What sort of products do you have, once again?
Yeah, we make pasteurized milk and homogenized milk. And the only thing we do is pasteurized and homogenize. Homogenize means that you make it smaller, the cells, so the milk does not cream up. There is no creamy layer on top. But the taste of the milk you cannot compare to the milk from the supermarket. So the price is indeed a bit higher. You can compare it to biological milk. But people, they love it because of the pureness of the taste. So that we make milk. We also make yogurt. We make buttermilk. And we make buttermilk with flavors. We have a very special one, the ginger buttermilk. It's our signature buttermilk. And of course we make butter, but also a lot of cheese, Gouda cheese.
All that we can buy it here at the Floting Farm?
Yeah.
Do you also deliver, or do you also distribute these products?
Yeah, we distribute only locally.
When you say locally, is it?
Rotterdam. Yeah, Rotterdam and Schiedam, because we are now here, we are exactly on the border of Rotterdam and Schiedam. And that is why also we bring our products to Schiedam.
Explain to me why not other areas of the Netherlands?
Yeah, because we like local production. Yeah, and that is why we sell it only here. And the farm is not that big because it has only 40 cows, which means that the production is not that high. So we keep it in Rotterdam and Schiedam.
So I'm sure that other areas of Netherlands is a bit jealous about that. Probably. Would you have other projects in other parts of Netherlands?
Yes, we would love to. We would love to go to Amsterdam, for example. So yeah, why not?
Why not?
But the thing is that this project is a project, for example, for Japan. Japan, it imports over 90% of all the food, and it is surrounded by water. So why not make floating farms around Japan? And in that way, they are more self-sufficient and more aware about, yeah, food production.
When I first heard about your floating farm, it completely blew my mind. I had to see it.
Welcome.
And it's right behind you. It's floating right out there. But talk to me about the structure.
Yeah.
I understood that it's there are many innovative technologies involved in such structure.
Yeah, indeed. Well, actually, to explain a bit, the farm has 3 layers. On top, there are the cows, and then we have the middle floor, and we call it the process floor. And then under the water, there is a flotation device. And then we go back to the top, where you can see the cows. But by the way, the cows can freely walk in or out. We also have a small pasture. But not today, because the rain is very bad, so the pasture is too wet. So unluckily, you cannot see it. But on top, there is also a milking robot, and there is a manure robot. The milking robot, of course, it milks the cows, but the manure robot, it's important. It soaks up the manure 24 hours a day, and it brings the manure to one corner of the farm, and there it drops down in the manure separator. And why is that important? If you immediately or within 3 hours separate the urine and the manure, you have 60% less emission. So this is also about sustainable farming. And the dry part, we make pellets from it, and we sell it to the citizens as a fertilizer. And the urine, it goes to the blue container over here, and there we purify it, and then it goes to the sewage. But the next step will be that we will use the urine as a fertilizer for our vegetables and herbs. But then you have to come back to see how the second farm will be next to this one. So that's the next episode. But then we go to the middle floor, the process floor. There, all the rest streams from the city, the feed for the cows comes together. We mix it up and it goes with feed bells upstairs to the cows. There also we process all the milk. So we make milk, buttermilk, yogurt, cheese. And there also is the processing of the manure. But there's also a very interesting installation, a small setup. And we do that one together with Rainmaker. Rainmaker, it's a company, it's here also from the area. And what do we do over there? We pump up the brackish port water and we want to desalinate it so we can reuse it on the farm. And we do desalination with reverse osmosis. And the only thing we need for that is heat. And it will not surprise you that we only use the heat from the manure for this. So the two big issues in the world will be food and fresh water. And in this project we combine it. So that is a really interesting thing. And then we go under the water to the flotation device. It has 3 compartments. In one of them there ripes our cheese, our Gouda cheese, because circumstances about temperature and humidity are almost the same the whole year around. In the other compartment we have already a small installation of vertical farming, so we are experimenting with vegetables and herbs. And the third one we have some technical stuff. For instance, we purify the rainwater we collect on the roof and we reuse it on the farm again.
How about power?
Good one. Next to the farm we see the floating solar panels. They provide energy, and you will also see a very small windmill in front of the farm, and that one is in cooperation with the University of Rotterdam to see how we can wind and solar energy, how we can combine it in this project. We are not off the grid, but this is a kind of innovation project, a living lab, as you can name it.
I'm also curious about how this project was seen to the Rotterdammers, to the locals.
Yeah, first at the start we had to inform them during an evening, and they were a little bit skeptic about it. And I understand, because it has never been done, and I understand that you are a little bit hesitating. But now they have embraced the project and they are proud in it, and they come and buy the local products and they volunteer here. So I already mentioned, I think, that it's also a social hub over here, and it grew organically, and that makes that people feel that we are valuable neighbors.
Have you plans to expand
Yeah,
this
definitely.
idea?
Yeah, definitely. I think, for example, Japan, it might be so helpful to have a farm over there. Just start with a small one. And we started with cows, but of course you can also start with vertical farming or with mushrooms or whatever. So there is a lot possible. But it starts with a mindset to be open for new things who can change the world. And we have also a lot of farmers who visit the farm. Last week we had 106 farmers, retired farmers from Germany, 2 big coaches over here with farmers, and they always ask me, Minke, do we all need to go to the water? And I always answer, definitely not, because what a farmer is doing in a right way, please keep on doing, because we every day need 3 times the farmer. But for countries like you, like Japan, there is still some place to make things better and make things to produce more locally, and that can avoid a lot of transport. And it also opens up the minds of people. My life has become more rich, and we travel a lot, Peter and I, because we talk to a lot of countries, a lot of cities, and we were invited at different places. And what I see that we all share one thing: to leave the world. We like to leave the world a bit better than we found it. And not all of us, but the most people want it. And I'm happy that I can help a bit, to realize that.